Welcome in, my name is David Schablock, and we're here to talk about tattoos on mannequins. I've talked about it a lot of times elsewise, and so this time I thought we would just go over everything with it. So when we're doing moulage for mannequins, or even real people, one of my favorite techniques is using temporary tattoos. And when I was getting this ready, it's funny because a lot of people were thinking like tattoos, like, you know, people's tattoos. And I'm like, no, this is different. With this, I'm talking about you can either create your own or you can make your own tattoos for injuries. So these are some of them made by Tinsley Transfers or Tinsley Studios. They are a major motion pictures special effects studio, and they do some amazing work. This is more of what they consider their Halloween line, and it's just great because it can give you a very, very quick effect that is also very repeatable at a good cost. And I've been talking about these for years now. You can get a sheet of these for, I think they're about $5 in my local shop. I'm actually fortunate enough to actually have a local Halloween and costume shop runs all year round, and I can pick them up. But honestly, I get them from Tinsley's website. And they're pretty awesome. Katie McKenzie ended up turning me on to some ones that you can buy pretty cheap, and I mean like $7, $8 on Amazon. And some of them are a little hokey, but for the price you're paying, you actually get some that are pretty darn good. I mean, hokey. Some of those are okay, a lot of those are kind of hokey, but you do have some good sutures in there and stuff like that, your standard gunshots, stuff like that. But the biggest thing is you get so many of them. So looking at these on Amazon, and these are just the standard tattoo transfers that we used to have. We used to put on our kids, or, you know, we would wear ourselves, whether it's, you know, when we were kids or Halloween or whatever. And so you can do a whole lot with those. We're going to shuffle that deck. I won't throw anything away. Then there's some really, really advanced ones by things like Twilight Creations, and I've hid them from myself, or I would show you. But those are really, really nice. They're a very high detail, and they look very, very real, but they're also about 5 times the cost. So they're about $40 a sheet, you know, about 10 times the cost almost. So I don't use those as much. They're beautiful. If I have a really, you know, full tilt good event where some client is paying a good amount of money, I will use those. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be using the Tinsley Transfers, and they're great. And then I've got a couple of good videos on how to print and make your own. And so for years and years, I used a brand called Papillo, and it was great. They actually had their own tattoo glue that came with it rather than just being on the water slide paper. It was called Tattoo Tac, and it was great. The problem is they switched manufacturers or owners or whatever, and now you just can't get it. So I get a lot of people asking about where to actually find, you know, something else that's new, and we're back right to Amazon. So these are the 2 brands I've seen pretty much on Amazon. And I have heard good things out of both of those. Sorry, getting a little bit of a glare there. So these are the 2 brands. If you just put into the search function of Amazon, you know, tattoo transfers or tattoo printables or tattoo skins, or I mean paper, these are the ones you're going to find. And so they're pretty available. And I will freely admit to you that I bought these on a good recommendation and just haven't had a chance to use them. With COVID and things like that, we haven't used as many of these things. But we're going to go through everything as far as how to get images, how to edit those images to something that's usable and printable. We're going to transfer some of these onto mannequin skins and onto Tegaderm, which is actually my favorite thing to do with them. It is just the very best way to get a very quick, easy, and repeatable effect. And repeatable is a big key for me because if you have multiple iterations on multiple days, I mean, I love alcohol paints, I love a lot of the other ways to make a bruise and things like that, but with, you know, a number of students coming through in multiple days, you don't want to leave those things on the mannequin skin, or else you could run the risk of permanently staining your mannequins. And therefore, you're going to be doing different iterations every day. And someday you may come in, you're a little more caffeinated, you're a little more, you know, into it, feeling it, and you're going to do a great bruise. And then other days you're going to maybe not do as good of a bruise. You didn't get as much sleep, you didn't get as much caffeine, and so therefore you're actually going to do a little bit of a different effect day to day. And that's not really fair to the students because they're going to get a different sort of you know, bruise, and they're going to, or laceration or whatever, and they could perceive that differently. So being able to be quick on, quick off, repeatable is very, very key to me. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how or what I put these on. And my very favorite thing is Tegaderm. So, Tegaderm comes in all different sizes. You can get these little guys here, like this, and I've used quite a few of those. This is your standard 4x4 or 4x4 and 3/4. You've got different materials like this one, which is a different brand of a transparent film, not just Tegaderm. And then you can actually get these guys that are really big, or you can get rolls of it that will, that'll, you know, go away just as long as you need. Those are good. The rolled Tegaderm's good for like a seatbelt sign. You know, if you're going for a seatbelt sign all across somebody's chest or something that's going to be very, very big, you know, these rolls or the really big size Tegaderms are key for that. It is a big sheet, Eric. So, got beeping from somewhere, don't know what. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. But, yeah, I also really like these big sheets because what I'll end up doing is I will tape these straight to a clipboard. So I'll take the back of a clipboard. Got one right here, actually. So I will just take it and tape it straight to the back of the clipboard, and I will do a whole bunch of them so that, you know, I can get a lot of them all at one time. And when you're done with that, you end up cutting them free, and you get something like, there we go, something like that. And actually we'll switch cameras to be able to show you there. So this came off of one of those very, very large sheets of Tegaderm, and it didn't leave you anything to really pull, so what you got to do is kind of pull up on the edge, and that's how you get it. So what I end up doing is transferring this straight to the Tegaderm, and then I sandwich another Tegaderm on top of it. And that actually protects your image, and it makes it a little more durable so that when you are working with this stuff, you can... I've actually got many different types of mannequin skins here. This is your standard Laerdal PVC skins. This is more of the CAE's skins that are not silicone based, a CAE silicone based, and another different CAE silicone based. But regular Tegaderm sticks to these two pretty darn well. So what's nice about that is I can just peel it off, stick it to the mannequin, and I can run my entire scenario like that, okay? And then when I'm done, I will actually be very careful, and I will peel it up, and I will save that. And it's really funny because you know how when you work at a sim center for a while, you get your routines and the places where you put things. And in the sim center I worked in the most for about 8 years, we had a paper towel holder that was in the very, very corner, you know, edge of the sim center. And on the back side of that, next to the wall, is where we would hide all of these. And recently I was able to go back and help them move to a new site. Well, when I peeked behind there, it looks like either I still had some there from when I worked there over a year ago, or they were doing the same thing, because there were all sorts of hives and lesions and things like that on the paper towel dispenser. But if you are very careful, you can peel these off, put them back on the paper, find a nether wax paper or something like that, save these and reuse them over and over and over again. And that's key for me, because I want to be able to, you know, bring down the cost per as low as I possibly can. But you can do a whole bunch of things, not just the bruises and things like that. This here is something I got asked, and actually it's part of what started us doing this live stream. Was this is what we did for hives. And you know, hives usually have a little bit of raised, you know, bumpiness to them. And so what I'll end up doing is, before I put down the Tegaderm with a bruise on it, I will actually put a little bit of material. It's kind of a ballistics gel type material. We call it gel wax. It's used in the candle making industry, and I've just used it for years, and it's great. But any sort of, you know, thing that will raise that image from a 2D to a 3D is really what you'd want to look for. Let's see if we've got any more questions. And for those in the chat there, the one that's kind of blowing up the chat is my son. So take it easy and let other people talk, buddy. But thank you. So any questions before we go on? We've only got a few different viewers here, and I know we had a rocky start with things, but there we go. Got it. So just want to make sure there's no other questions before we go on. And all right. So what we're going to do first is switch over into Photoshop and talk about how to acquire images. Okay? And so what I need is, I want something that you think would be a good image or a good injury that we would want to look up. So somebody in the chat, give me a, you know, something that you would want to use a tattoo transfer for. Eric, I think that's pretty much you. Okay, so my son put in heroines, which I'm guessing he would mean needle tracks. So let's switch over to the computer. Switch over to your friend, and 1 second here. There we go. So you want to switch over to your friend, which is your Google image search. Gunshot. We'll do a gunshot for you as well, but we're going to do heroin tracks is actually a really, needle marks and needle tracks is actually a really good one. So it's one I get asked for a lot, and I don't have any in my menagerie of photos. And that's one thing I would really recommend you do is, what we call it is, or what I was taught is, it was called a morgue. And what you want to do is go in and find, you know, images of injuries and have a folder so that when you need these things, you can pull on them and you can get them as quickly as possible. But we're going to say, okay. So what we want to do is find a fairly good image of track marks and needle marks. So this is actually a pretty good one right there. Ooh, I really like that one. That's a nice infiltrated and kind of a messed up sort of image. The other thing you can do is in the tools or in the settings, you can search by size. And so you want the largest image you can get, so it's the best quality. And that one popped right up again. That's actually not bad, see, but it's pretty small. We're gonna look through here and see what we can find. That one looks almost so uniform. I don't know if that's real or if that's makeup. And that's the other thing is you gotta really pay attention to what is possibly a makeup job and what is not. So we're going to open that one. Save as. And IV drug marks is fine. save that, do that one, and we're going to go over and bring it into Photoshop. Okay? So, for those of you just joining, please by all means start talking in the chat and that sort of thing. I'm trying to monitor the chat. It is a one-person show, but and sorry for the rocky start, but it looks like some of you guys made it over. But, so I'm going to import. Actually, my favorite way of doing this will show you my desktop, which is a mess, but that's okay. We're going to actually just do that. File, open. Yep. There we go. So this here is our image we want to bring over into what I was working on. And what I like to do is make multiples of these, because usually you don't need just one, you need multiples. So what I'm going to do is first go ahead and zoom in on this, and I'm going to make a mask. So if you can use any sort of basic image editing tool, this is just my tool of choice. I've been using Photoshop since, well, I don't even want to admit how long I've been using it. But what we're going to do here is make sure I'm on there. Soft edge tool. There we go. And what I want to do is mask out any harsh edges. So I want to make sure that I'm using a soft edge tool. Notice the fuzzy edge. And any sharp edges like that, I want to knock those down. Till I get just the image of the infiltration there. So there's that one. I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to see if I can't find another one I like. I actually kind of like this one. Yeah, that's got some really good marks in it. So what we're going to do is save image as. Where's desktop? Yep. We're going to switch back over into Photoshop. And we're going to bring that guy in. Bring it back into our working document, like that. And that's what I was afraid of. I figured it'd be a little bit small. So we might want to bring that up a little bit. Now the problem with that is we're going to lose a little bit of image quality, but for what we're doing, usually it's not a big deal. So we're going to go back to making a mask. Make sure we're good here. Yeah, Eric brought up a good point of that GIMP is a Photoshop option or alternative that is free, and it's pretty nice. I have tried to use GIMP and I'm just too far into Photoshop that it just didn't go well for me. So now we don't want everything, we just want to focus on those track marks. So I'm going to block out. And just because I've been using Photoshop for a long time doesn't mean I'm that great at it, but it's just my weapon of choice. So we want to get down to where it's just the track marks. So there's a little bit of coloring in there. I'm going to try to keep that and all of that. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that. So at this point, what I'm going to do is duplicate my layer out a few times. Because I really want to maximize, when you're printing these, you know, it's not free, it's not terribly expensive, but you want to maximize as much of the paper as you can. You want to leave a little bit of distance, but again, I am frugal, so if I can save a dime and get some of these together, I'm going to do that. You want to make sure you're on your printable surface though, so you don't want to go higher or lower or whatever. Give yourself a little bit of room. Like that's probably a little too close, but I'm going to go with it. All right, so we've got a paper page full of these images, and there we go. So ended up getting about 8 of that image out and got about 6 of that one. So now what we're going to do is load up our printer and go with it. So any questions so far? Heading on with this. Let's see what we've got here. All right, no questions I don't see. So what we're going to do is grab, I think this Sunny Scopa, merely because there's more sheets in the package, and I don't remember the price off the top of my head. I will look for it, but it's not hateful. So with these, there is a, I'll go with that one. So with these, there's a shiny side, and then there's the printed side. I am just horrible at knowing which side needs to go in the printer, especially when you go in a laser printer. So that's why some of mine that have been printed a few times, you'll notice that the images are on both sides, the shiny side and the other side. So that's just a fun little thing. So if you do that, the only thing you'll realize is you'll have to use more water to transfer them over. But so we're going to put a couple of sheets in the printer. We're going to save this, send it out, and get it going. File, save as. Usually I like to save these as PDFs, just because that way it's a little bit easier to share, and I usually do Photoshop PDF. I don't want the layers, but I'm going to do that anyways. High quality print. You want to save as much of the image quality as you can. And I didn't actually figure out what I saved it as. So give me a second here. There we go. So there's our image. As you can see, it's got all of the track marks over there. And those might end up being a little bit small, so we might have to resize them, and sometimes that's, you know, okay. You got to figure that out and what works and what doesn't. So this is all trial and error. A lot of times what I'll say is when you're doing your first print, print it on just regular paper. That way you can size it up and see how it looks and if it's going to work for you. So we're going to send that out, and we're going to let that print. I am paying attention to the chat, so if anybody other than my son wants to talk, and Eric, feel free to ask questions and things like that. So while that's deciding if it's going to print or not, what we're going to do is switch over to, it's going to print, it just is going to take a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with one of these that I've opened already, and we're going to transfer these to Tegaderm because these are very, very easy to deal with. They all come with a protective sheet over top of it that you want to peel off when you're actually ready to use them. And those printed, we'll get back to those in a minute, but there's a few extra tricks to the ones you print yourself. So what we're going to first do is pick out which one we want to use. I'm thinking just one of these real simple scrapes. And we might do the bruise as well. So we're going to pick 3 of these, which means we need a bigger Tegaderm. So Tegaderm always has this paper border. For the primary layer, I take that off. You just got to do it very carefully so it doesn't disturb the underlying Tegaderm. So you want to flatten it out as much as you can. And then we're going to take these 3 and we're going to take and just direct transfer them over. Now, I always use the tattoo tack, but a lot of times with these, the image is durable enough that you don't have to. So we're going to test it out. Check it out. So I'm going to push that down pretty well. For control's sake, what I like is when I take my water, I like to draw some up in a syringe. And then we just want to use enough to... So water slide paper is basically, it's a cardstock that has a separating agent on it. And basically it's sprayed on as a liquid, and when it dries, it gives you that shiny kind of effect. And all we're doing is rehydrating that. Like KY is a very good example of a hydrating agent, or a separating agent. There we go. So we're just going to be very, very patient, and we're going to let that rehydrate until with any light movement, it'll move right off. So, see how that goes. There we go. It's starting to break loose. And you want to be very patient with it. You don't want to be as impatient and tear it, because you'll end up tearing the image. If you look, there's a little tear right there. But that transferred over pretty well. It stayed put, and that's what we were looking for. So I'm going to put this one right there. Helps to actually take the protective coating off. Get a little bit more water. And now we wait. Any questions so far? Get some paper towel to take some of that excess water up, or paper towel. Yep. And again, if you look, I messed up the edge of that. Oh, I messed that one up pretty good. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that image tore. And it's all about patience. So I am not a patient person when it comes to waiting on this stuff. But I bet that one, yep, there we go. So 2 out of 3 isn't bad, especially for doing this on the fly. And that bruise actually will look just fine. If it was a laceration, it might not be as good. And if you do alcohol makeups or anything like that and have those types of things laying around, you could actually go in and touch up some of the images with alcohol paint. Christian Tinsley's the one that actually came out with this whole tattoo transfer stuff for movies, and in movies they make them on the fly, or they make them up ahead of time, and they actually paint it in, so they custom make them. But if you look there, that bruise got messed up, but of course bruises being nebulous clouds like they are, that'll actually work just fine. And then we have the laceration, or the scrape and the laceration. So then the next key is your second piece of Tegaderm. And with this one, I will actually leave on that border, because that's going to help us place it correctly over the top one. And again, patience is the key. You want to hold it out as tight as you can and match the two. You don't want to get any wrinkles, because those will be in there permanent. There we go. So what I would do is, if you're making these up ahead of time, I would just leave it like that. I wouldn't do a darn thing to it. When it comes to the day of the event, and if you get little bubbles, you can just simply kind of push those off to the side. Usually you can get those out that way. If you need a pin or hit it with an X-Acto knife blade, you can usually make those. Just touch it once and then chase your bubbles to it. Because as you can see, I messed that one up a little bit, just the edge of that one there, just chasing that bubble, so don't chase those bubbles too hard. The key to cutting Tegaderm is sharp scissors, okay? Happy accident. Yes, sir. Don't try to make too big of bites when you're cutting your Tegaderm, because it will get gummed up into your blades and it will tear, and it's just a mess. So you don't actually want to leave all that on there. You want to kind of cut it down. Now what I do is I leave one corner that will have the cardboard, because that allows me to pick it up a little easier. And some of the pigment that kind of ran away over there, I'm going to get rid of that guy. As you can see, it tore on me a little bit. So there we go. It's because I used 2 pieces of Tegaderm, it's sandwiched it in there. It's pretty safe. I can put that in my kit and nothing's going to happen to it. We'll get the others cut down. Okay. The real problem is, because of that cardboard barrier, you can't actually see where the image stops. So what I'm going to end up doing is pulling up that cardboard barrier, or border, and I'll end up going up under and cutting some of that away. Now I know where I'm going to trim it, where I'm not going to hurt my image. And we're going to get rid of all those. So now we've got a bruise, got a good scrape, like that, and we've got a good laceration. So, and now I'm going to go through the, just for you, I'm going to do a gunshot. Now these have blood on them. I'm going to try to sift through here and see if I can find one that doesn't have blood. So I like to add my own. Ooh, I kind of like that guy a lot. I think we've got blood or no blood, or blood and that's it. Okay, that's how it is. So, more Tegaderm it is. Never actually gotten to place this brand. I would assume it's going to go the same way, but let's try it. Just can't beat the cost on these guys. So, because of the size, I'm going to use these little guys here. Got all kinds of coffee grounds that went loose in my kit. So if you notice, this image here is going to be larger than the open area of the Tegaderm, and that's okay. One thing you can do is simply trim down the graphic closer to the actual image. And that helps quite a bit. Actually, it'll do the whole thing. But you could just pull some of that border up, which, remember, in the first step we're going to do anyway, so that'll allow you to know where you're at. These little tiny guys are great for nicotine patches. We had a nicotine overdose case we would run at the last place I worked, and this little size was perfect for them. The biggest thing to remember is if you're going to print anything with text on it, you have to print it inverted, or the process of putting the tattoo on is going to, or putting the image on is going to flip everything backwards for you. Okay, so not perfect, but it'll work. So remember, we're going to remove the top coating there, put it down, press firm, get a little water on there, and be patient. Remember, I'm not patient. All right, and now we wait. Those slid off pretty quickly. Go Amazon. Grab another paper towel. You don't want to dab because all you're trying to do is pick up the excess water. You're not trying to actually, you'll tear the image if you don't. And there you go, Eric. There's a rudimentary gunshot. I'll let that one slide off. And this is one I think I could probably use at work, the day job currently, because that is definitely a nice lesion. So pretty darn quickly, we've used the Tinsley, we've used the Amazon stuff. Now let's get back into the track marks we made. So those are the images we made. I'd probably go in next and get closer to the actual track mark, maybe drop the opacity so that the mannequin skin will come through a little bit more, kind of like I did with this one, kind of ate it up. But we're going to try a couple things. Yeah, you missed the beginning of it. The one with the blood on it was from, it was an inexpensive one from Amazon. So you can get an absolute bunch of them for very, very cheap. That was the key. So the biggest thing about printing your own is the image is a lot more fragile. You can damage this a lot easier. So really you want to use some kind of glue that's going to allow that image to together transfer over to the tegaderm. Too hot. Well, then let's switch to that one. So you want to use something that's going to let it transfer over to the tegaderm without destroying the entire image. There we go. And that's the key about making your own. That's why when we did them for years with the Papillo, we would use their tattoo tack, and that was a really nice glue. It was kind of a rubber cement, but it wasn't. And it would hold the image together enough to transfer it over the tegaderm. So let's try a few different solutions and see what we can come up with. Okay, so just like the last time, we ended up taking off the border, throwing that away, and we're going to try a couple of different things. It's fine.
Can you zoom that one in, because it's hard to see?
Okay, so we've got two here because we're actually going to try a couple of different things. We're going to try, one of my favorites is Super 77. I have a feeling that's going to destroy the image because it's an aggressive glue. Old standby is Aide. So I don't know if that's going to focus on there, but Aide is a great glue, and it's used in prosthetics a lot. And then I'm going to use an old glue stick. see which one works the best, try it out, see what happens. The biggest thing is you don't want to press too hard because, again, you can destroy your image pretty quickly. The nice thing about this glue stick is it's purple, and when it dries, it goes clear. And when you print your own, the biggest thing I can tell you is as much patience as you needed for the Tinsley stuff, use twice as much. So I'm going to just let it sit there with a full thing of water, and I'm going to walk away with it. So the next thing I'm going to do is try some of the Super 77. Any old spray mount would probably work. Biggest thing that I did was I'm spraying it on and I'm going to let it tack up. I'm going to let the solvents kind of come off of the image. Because if you don't let those solvents come off, when you put the second piece of Tegaderm on there, it's going to try to off-gas. And I mean, Tegaderm is porous, so it'll allow it for that, but it's just not a great thing. Finally, good old Aide. Now, Aide is a contact adhesive as well. You really have to wait until it's completely dry when you're using it. So this is a very popular solution. Bob Brown, who owns Trauma Effects US, he used to use this on his, and he's a big fan, and he's a very smart guy, and he knows what he's doing. So if he says it, it's kind of like him and Todd Debrasini and some of the other ones you guys have heard me talk about. If they say it works, by golly, it works. So, like I said, you really want to wait until that completely whites out and dries, which I didn't. So, back to my impatience again. That will probably come back and bite me in the butt. That's okay. Two seconds, I'm going to see if I can't get that one camera back. Almost there. Like I said, you really want to wait until these fully hydrate again, or else that image will just destroy. Alright, so we got our camera back here, and the first one that I loaded up, we're going to try and see what we get. And that was the one we used a glue stick for. Not bad. Pretty darn happy. The second one was the spray mount. Also worked really, really well. And then I know Aide's just gonna work. Unless I didn't wait long enough, but looks like it worked as well. So, all three ended up working. I know which one I will go with. Yeah, wait for it to dry. So my question to you guys are, you folks are, out of the 3 you saw me use, which one do you like best and which one will you probably use? Because I know which one I like. Secret is, it's the one that I can carry in my kit. It's the one that took the least amount of time to dry. Because for me, if it's my money, it's going to be a glue stick. So at this point, get a couple more pieces of Tegaderm. And again, all that time and money that you say, or that you were spending by sandwiching another Tegaderm, you're just saving that time, effort, and money. And that's what it all really comes down to, isn't it? Like if I was doing this, I would definitely put another one right in there because I don't want to waste any of my Tegaderm. Tegaderm's hard to come by sometimes. And when it's not, it will be one day. So don't waste it. Okay. There we go. Here's our track marks by all 3 solutions. And the other thing I'll end up doing is I will wait until tomorrow, see if any changes happened. Because sometimes it looks great the one day. You go to the morning of the exercise and Murphy heard you all confident and happy and will get you. Now, if you're going to do tattoo transfers on standardized patients, don't reuse them. Just go ahead and take them, put them directly on the person, and usually any good makeup remover will take them off. Anybody want to venture to guess why we don't do this? Use Tegaderm and use it on more than one person. Hint, the answer is in what I just said. When you pull off, best place to order Tegaderm. That's a conversation for another time. Because to be honest, I have gotten a lot of mine from very good friends and haven't had to order a lot of it. I've been fortunate that some of my sim centers have been able to order it and I haven't been able to. So what I would say is trade with people who have Tegaderm or internet. But I don't have a really great answer for you on that one. All right, cut them down and they're ready to be used on the mannequins. That's a little small. I would say I'd probably resize that, print that out again, and I'm going to see if I can't grab a mannequin arm. How many of you folks just have a mannequin arm just laying around? Yeah, I'm a little weird. So it comes day of the event. We're going to use this little cardboard thing to help us apply it. Put it right in that antecubital fossa space. This, we can even have it come right below that pre-plumbed IV site. Don't forget to take off the cardboard that helped you put it on. Sometimes a little blade will help you with that. There we go. So I would probably end up cutting this at all the areas where there's a bend in the elbow. But is your student going to realize that something's wrong? If you look, again, this is a little bit deep and there's too much image. I'd probably go back there and clean up the image and fade out more of the skin, get just that infiltration mark right there. So, and like I said, the best thing about this is I can peel this off if I'm lucky. Of course, on here I'm not going to be as lucky. And that didn't transfer as well, but it is reusable. You got to be a little bit lucky for it to work. There we go, that one worked out much better. So that is skin that is not silicone. So what we're going to do is we're now going to transfer some of these directly to without Tegaderm. And I know a lot of people are doing that. I just have never really done it because I like to reuse my stuff as much as possible. So I know Katie McKenzie, that's all she does. I'm going to kind of tilt that up just a smidge. All right, so we've got two skins that are not silicone based, and we got two that are silicone based. And a lot of your new mannequins are coming out that are silicone based. And the only thing that really sticks and bonds to silicone is silicone. Okay, so you have to use another bonding agent or glue it to something that has a silicone glue to it. And some of those things I've used are Mepitac Tape. So Mepitac Tape is pretty widely around, and it has a silicone-based glue. It is flesh, semi-transparent. So sometimes I will actually take the transfers, the tattoo transfers, and put them directly onto the Mepitac Tape, and then later on transfer it to the mannequin. And this glue is reusable probably a couple of times. This is another one that has a silicone-based glue that I found on Amazon. Not as happy with the results, but the thing I really like about it, and the reason I bought it, was it's completely clear. So if you have mannequins that have, you know, very different pigment tones, this is pretty nice. And you can transfer the tattoos directly on top of it, put another layer of this on top of it, and it works pretty well, not as well. And then you can also use, just like we did with the Pros Aide, you can use a silicone-based glue. This is by Smooth On. There are a lot of different brands and makes out there. I own quite a few. I like this one just because it's one of the least expensive ones out there. It's made for prosthetics, but it does have a silicone. It's a very gummy silicone glue to it. So we're going to try a couple of these silicone skins, transfer things over, and then we're going to call it a night. So a lot of people will do it with no glue at all and just transfer it straight over. And to be perfectly honest, I have not tried this. I would use glue of some kind because my sneaking suspicion is it won't stay. Because remember, the only thing that sticks to silicone is silicone. So what I'm going to do is slide that to the side a little bit, let those fully hydrate, I'm going to take the top coating off there. Get a makeup wedge. And it's not cheap, so you want to be sparing. But I'm going to take some of that silicone glue. I'm going to put it on there with a makeup wedge, and we're going to let that tack up. So again, we're letting some of the solvents evaporate off so that it will be nice and sticky. Stick to our silicone skin. Ooh, yeah, that did not want to stay. So like we said, that unfortunately I was not very lucky with the silicone skins of direct transfer. That one transferred a little bit better. Shadows here, I gotta work on my lighting here. But it still tore the image pretty poorly, or pretty badly. So, don't recommend on silicone skins. Now on the PVC skins, I would guess those would transfer over pretty well. So I'm gonna, on the edge here, I'm gonna see if that's tacky. It is. And we're gonna transfer that over, press firm. The difference between this skin is this skin's got a texture to it. It's got, you know, it's not just a flat plane, and therefore that might cause the image to break up or not stick as well. So we're just trying things out. Yes. So Eric in the chat said that some of the makeup wedges will inhibit platinum cure silicone, and oh yes it is. So the biggest thing you want to get is latex free, because if it does not say latex free, your makeup wedge probably has latex in it, and latex is a big one that will inhibit the cure of platinum cure silicone. So when I buy mine, and I'm looking for the big package I had, there we go. So when I buy all mine, it has to say right on there, latex free. So hopefully that didn't flip the image, but all right. So we're gonna come back here and we're gonna see if it's time to release this. There we go. Oh, it was a little bit time. I destroyed one of them. There we go. And that is bonding pretty darn well. So at this point, what you want to do is get off that excess water. And you want to put a little bit of blood on top to sell the image. That's sticking pretty darn well. Notice how shiny it is. That's unfortunate, but cost of doing business. And what I'm going to do is on this other one that's really a textured skin, I'm really kind of pressing it down in there. So hopefully you all have a bunch of blood just hanging out for you there. And red drum is one of my favorite bloods. Cutthroat Studios blood's also very, very good. And I know I covered a lot of it, but when you put bandaging over it, it's going to mess up that image a whole lot. So having the tattoo or the transfer underneath it is pretty darn important, especially when you smear and that sort of thing. You get the idea of the laceration underneath it. Yep. It's always the latex. Latex will get you in platinum cure silicone. So then the next question is, how do we get that off? A lot of there's a Derma Tac Remover. So with every glue, there's usually a remover. So we're going to take another makeup wedge, dip it in there, and just kind of work at that. I'm going to grab a paper towel and get that blood off there first. Actually, just some good abrasion. Looked like it was going to get that off of there. Sneaking suspicion, 99% alcohol would get it off as well, but there we go. Took it right off. Took off both of them. And it's not sticky at all. On the flat surface, it's taken a little bit more work. And it looks like a little bit of it's remaining, so you probably want to hit it again with some of the remover. And I'm using a fair amount of pressure. And again, my favorite cleanup agent is 99% alcohol. I think that's 91, but come on. What's 8% among friends? So there we go. Clean, not a mark on it, sticky free. Pretty darn good. So we have made our own tattoos. We've applied those. We've put them on Tegaderm, we've put them on silicone skin. I think we've pretty much got everything we wanted to get done. So I guess I'm going to say, if you have any questions, I'll be available through the different social media platforms, but if for anything else, and we'll have another live stream probably coming out somewhat soon. But my name is David Schaublock with Simulation Tech, signing off.